Hello and welcome back to Event Mode. We are currently working on Event Mode 5, but since this is a new play session, I'm always changing things between play sessions, and most importantly, I have downloaded the Dine Out mod that fixes Dine Out, and I've placed a restaurant that I found on the gallery for just restaurant businesses. I know that eventually one time I kind of want to do like a seaside restaurant here in Silani. I definitely am gonna have to like demolish a place in order to do it, which I can. There's plenty of places to do that here. But I'm excited to actually engage with Dine Out. It was the first pack that I bought. I know. I know. What a fool I was. But the second one I bought was Jungle Adventure, and I love Jungle Adventure. So you know what? We're fine. Some other quality of life things that I have done is that I have edited everybody's little cards so that way it reads what we have done in event mode. So when you click on like a household, like one of the townies households, it gives you a little bit of lore about them to help guide role playing. And I have basically, as I've created households and those stories have updated, I have edited those. So I've also changed households to thematically whatever chapter we're on. As you can see, this is the Spencer Kim Lewis one, again, to just give you some sort of guide into how the role-playing experience is. This is where a lot of the lore in Sims Technic generally is in the way that the houses are built and the little lore cards that we get. I've also added a house across the street from the land grabs. I genuinely thought that the Altos had just vanished from my game because if you remember, I had neighborhood stories on and a lot of chaotic things happened like Nancy and Lilith Vitor dying and I literally thought that the Altos vanished, but apparently I don't think the Altos are even in Sims 4, which is wild because they're like the enemies of the land grabs. But rest assured, I have dropped Sun Espira, which is she's like a rich video game mogul and is new money, and she can kind of fit that spot that the Altos are leaving. I'm really kind of sad that the Altos are not in here. Who's supposed to go toe to toe with the land grabs? The BFF house? Be fucking for real. So Sun Espira was created for me to explore for rent, and I had created this large retirement home because I was trying to do this sort of gameplay mode with aspirations, and it ended up getting developed into what is event mode. The sort of Project Zero was this thing with aspirations, which is why a lot of the events are about aspirations, and I had made this retirement home for you to like send your Sims when they were done. And I never got to actually use it because obviously I never really brought life to that sort of a generational kind of thing that I was trying to do. So I've placed that here, and I've placed it in Chestnut Ridge because it is the only map that has a map large enough that I can place it that I don't have to destroy something else. So the Aspirin retirement home is here, and that is a place where you can just send your elder Sims when you kind of want to push them off but not necessarily kill them. I'm very excited to fill up the Aspirin retirement home as kind of the goal. So event 5 is actually one of the most simplest ones, which is I need a vacation, which is to take your family on a vacation for the longest period of time, and I decided that we're going to do the Goths, and I am going to be doing the, what is it called? Granite Falls, because I've always gone to Salvadoria, the Jungle Adventure place. I've always gone there. And I will say, because this is a voiceover, so I am Aaron from the future, this was a miserable experience. I did not have fun. I learned that this was actually the first pack that The Sims actually came out with, and you can tell. And I actually have plans to download a mod that lets you turn the vacation worlds into residential worlds, because the the Granite Falls, while it is very lackluster in terms of a vacation spot, I think it could really, really shine as a residential area, because in terms of residential, it's fairly unique. Now, the thing that you're looking at this entire time, in which we will eventually skip to the future, is that when I had neighborhood stories on, the Goths had a baby. His name is Carl. I'm trying to survive with the name Carl. Don't like the name Carl. It'll be fine. So I am trying to make room for a baby as best I can without having to destroy much. Okay. So let's quickly age up the baby. More choices. Baby care, age up. Usually I randomize it, but we've already got the tense baby in the other one. Oh, he's sad for being... Oh. Tell her a bedtime story. Please tell me she doesn't have the hates children. No, she's family oriented. Let's look at her Simology panel. Oh, she has good compatibility with Henrietta. That's interesting. Okay, so he's outgoing, he's a bookworm, he's creative, he's a writer at Walrus Books. Okay. And then Cassandra. Oh, she's gloomy. They have bad compatibility. Gross. I guess you're not supposed to love your kids. And then Alexander. He's a bookworm. He doesn't like homebody sims. Okay, and then what is Cassandra, or not Cassandra, but, ooh, low friendship, high romance. Interesting. She's romantic, good, and family oriented. Oh, I got a little alert that they done their homework. Aw, they're responsible. Oh, I forgot to, oh, does he need a take? No, he doesn't. What is, okay, so you're a whiz kid. Musical genius. Her being a party animal is so interesting. And the Renaissance sim. Like, I never really thought Bella to be like that. Hanging out with your sister? Do you want to go into the hidey hole? Sorry, I'm just getting a handle for the goths before we go on vacay. Mortimer never knows what is lurking in the dark. Darkness is nothing but a veil to hide the most gruesome and terrifying creatures of the night. He feels like they could pop out at any moment, and lately this man named Vladislaus keeps calling. Oh, he's got a fear of the dark. Looming dread. He was abducted? The fact that the first abduction happened at the fucking goth house. Because I don't know if you know, but Bella Goth has a lot of historical, he's gonna be fucking pregnant, isn't he? She's got like a lot of historical context, like, lore about her that is about, now let's go on vacation. Travel, take a vacation. We'll go to Granite Falls. Because I haven't been to Granite Falls. So they're rich. So what's the most expensive one? Ugh, imagine being able to drop $4,000 on a vacation. Okay. We've got little beds. Okay, so obviously the little boy is gonna sleep there. Cassandra probably sleeps. Is there? Oh. Actually, Cassandra might sleep down here. Last recess, no one wanted to play with me. I just climbed around on my own. If that happens again, what should I do? Yeah. Talk to your baby. Sorry, I'm fascinated with this baby. We gotta prepare, because there are triplets in the other house. He's mad that he was talked to? Is this all, like, one big map that I interact with? Oh no, not the fish. Okay, Cassandra. Hi, this is Aaron from the future. This is my second time recording this because my editing software just crashed and deleted this entire voiceover, so we're doing it a take two, and I guess now that I've already done it once, it's gonna sound a little bit more cohesive, so let's get this ball rolling. Sims 4 Granite Falls might be, quite possibly, one of the most atrocious experiences I have ever had the unfortunate displeasure of having to slog through. And honestly, at this point, I wish that I was a sim influencer with more than 45 subscribers so that EA would take me seriously, because I do have some credentials to back me up. I have a degree in creative writing and a minor in game design because I want to write for video games. So I'm not just a person on the internet, and God, the amount of what I would pay to be able to tell The Sims how to fix this pack, at least some potential solutions, so that way it could be way more entertaining. Oh my gosh, I would kill for that opportunity, because I could put it on my resume. They could have a good pack and everybody wins. But this is EA and I am simply a drop in the bucket, and 7 people will watch this, so nobody knows. But this is going to be an unapologetic, thorough roast of the Granite Falls expansion, whatever the hell you want to call this thing, and I will be fair, but I will be cold but fair. I believe it was a forest ranger from the Yellowstone National Park that said the reason why they cannot have their trash cans fully bear-proof is because there is a considerable overlap between the smartest bear and the dumbest tourist. Now you might be asking yourself, Aaron, why are you bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because tutorials are like catering towards the dumbest tourist. That's what they are there for. Now, part of what makes Granite Falls struggle is that there is no clear direction or any tutorial system that really guides us. Something that the Sims team might often use in order to guide people through more difficult to understand things, kind of like Granite Falls, is they might do a location aspiration. I generally think location aspirations as tutorials is fine. It's a way to integrate a guidance system, and it's a very non-invasive way to do it, and I can appreciate it. However, the aspiration for this area, the Granite Falls aspiration, is terrible. It asks you to do very insane things, and it is very difficult to do. I, in fact, had to cheat my way through it. I've seen a couple of YouTubers, and they've said they've needed to cheat their way through it, so it's not good when most of the people are cheating through it. And the thing that they're usually cheating through is getting the bugs to roast over a grill or something like that. And the reason why that one is difficult is the secondary problem of this pack. The bug hunting is one of the most atrocious things that The Sim 4 has created, flat out. My best guess is that they wanted to ride the coattails and mimic some of the success that we see in games like Animal Crossing, but it works in Animal Crossing in a way that it does not work in The Sims 4, and I'm gonna explain why. So the first thing is that in Animal Crossing, it is very easy to see the bugs because the location is very small, and there is not a lot of busy work distracting you, and the bugs are bigger and easier to see. They have different coloration, and generally it is the fact that it is a fairly static background while the bugs are very mobile, and it's easy to see. It's also easy to tell which bugs are which. In The Sims 4, as you can see, as Cassandra is sort of navigating this area, the foliage, the different colors, the density, the impossibility to look through these trees without having to be fully zoomed in, so we have a very small window to look through. These bugs are small and they blend right in, and there's just so much space, and it's so busy, making it impossible to find these bugs, and it turns into a very unfun pixel hunting game. Pixel hunting is when you are tasked to find something that is very small, so you are hunting for those pixels. Now, another thing is that it's kind of difficult to tell what bugs are which bugs. The dragonflies and the fireflies are the easiest to see. They're very iconic. You can kind of tell like butterflies, but I was trying to look for beetles, and in all of the time I spent hunting for bugs, did not come across a beetle once, and I have no idea how to find it, and it was really, really frustrating, especially because that's one of the bugs that was part of the aspiration, and because I couldn't find a single beetle and was no longer willing to spend any more time pixel hunting, I just cheated my way through it. Another reason why this is successful in Animal Crossing and games like Animal Crossing but not in The Sims 4 is because The Sims 4 has a permanent game loop, which is your needs. The needs never turn off. Now, I encourage when you do your gameplay to find situations in order to turn them off. I turn needs off when I'm at university. Anytime I go out, I fill up the needs, but for the most part, they are a consistent game loop, and most video games do have a consistent game loop. It's like the thing that makes them the game. You know, in The Witcher, you're monster hunting. In The Sims, you're taking care of your Sims. The problem is that Animal Crossing does not have an aspect like this, so you could spend 10, 15 real life minutes going around looking for bugs, and you'll be able to do a complete circuit, and there's no adverse effect, versus The Sims where you have to get all of your needs up, and then you have to go out, hope it's not raining and storming, and then also try to look for bugs. It is just a maelstrom of things that are making it an impossible Herculean task to complete. Another reason this is going to work in games like Animal Crossing and Fields of Mystria, but not The Sims, is that in Animal Crossing and Fields of Mystria, you have a net that clearly indicates how you're supposed to be hunting for bugs. There is no real dictation in this game on how to hunt for bugs. You don't know that you're supposed to go up and click them. And why is this important? And it's because the majority of a Sims world is non-interactable. You have collectibles, but the collectibles are typically way easier to see. The frog logs are easier to see, the rocks are easier to see. Most importantly, frog logs all look the same, the rocks all look the same, so they're much easier to spot. And in normal worlds, normal overworlds, you're only dealing with like one or two of these things, so you're not dedicating a whole area of just having these so sparsely laid out, because I wouldn't even say that there's a lot of them in Granite Falls. You just spend a long time looking for rocks and logs and flowers and mushrooms, and it is not fun because of all of those previous problems of the dense foliage, the big trees, the large space. The coloration makes everything easy to blend in, and again with the bugs, how could a simmer know that they need to interact with the bugs without a net, without anything, when previously these things would, the majority of the world isn't interactable? How do you teach a simmer that they are supposed to interact with something when it is something that they would never consider? Who would think to interact with bugs, especially, you know, now that we can set up ponds and things like that? There are things where you can place down fireflies. So when I saw fireflies, I was like, oh, you know, in Build Mode they've like got the thing down. Those aren't interactable. So you need to be able to teach your sims, the simmers, you need to teach the player that the bugs can be interactable. And an easy way that Mystria and games like Mystria and Animal Crossing do that is they give you the bug hunting net. It clearly communicates two things. One, you can interact with bugs, and two, this is how you do it. The Sims 4 simply does not have that. Now, another issue that Granite Falls runs into is the herbalism skill. So the good thing about the herbalism skill, the only thing that I'll truly give Granite Falls, is that when you find unidentified mushrooms, unidentified flowers, and you try to identify them, but your herbalism skill is too low, the game tells you that you need to heighten your herbalism skill. This is a good thing, because you've gone out, you've explored, you've attempted to interact with it, you've failed the interaction, but it tells you how to do it. You have been, despite the fact that you failed, you have been rewarded with knowledge. Now you have a new goal. Figure out how to up your herbalism. How do you do that? All simmers know that the first place that you start is with a book. You buy the books, and that way you can upgrade your herbalism. A great piece of like natural tutorial thing that this game also does is that when you go to like the fun stuff in the little camper in the little like post box or whatever that is where you can buy supplies, there is the herbalism book. So if you've looked at that, then you've gone and you've gotten the plant, you've identified it, you failed, it says herbalism, you're like, oh, there was a book in the little post box. Let's go there, let's grab it. That is good. The next problem is that the place where you do herbalism is the grill. Now this is bad. Why is it a bad thing, Aaron? Well, I'm glad you've asked. So, simmers, especially experienced simmers, when it comes to a new skill, the first thing that they look for is the skill object, because usually when it comes to new skills, there is always a skill object that goes hand in hand with it. And for herbalism, they have decided to consolidate it into the grill, which one, doesn't make sense, and two, is clearly just because they put a bunch of grills everywhere and wanted those to be more interactable than just for food, which I can understand on the one hand, but on the other hand, you have kind of condemned the one thing that you can guarantee simmers will be looking for, which is the new skill item. And so because herbalism doesn't have a new skill item, simmers are left confused on how to do it, and that means they'll go to the wiki because they don't understand. And when your audience is forced to go to the wiki in order to figure out something, you have failed as a game. Here, tips and tricks and strategies, that's something else. But if it is like just how to do the basic parts of your game, your audience should not have to go to a wiki to do that. And honestly, most cozy games are kind of wiki open games. It's very difficult to play these games without having the wiki open, and it's my one criticism of most cozy games because most cozy games also have just libraries, and I don't understand why you wouldn't just put the wiki in that library and make that library more than just set decoration, because oftentimes libraries are just set decorations where sometimes you might be able to like store all of your collectibles, and I would really wish that they would just be the wiki, because you'll just download mods that basically put the wiki in the game, and then it's good because now everything is in the game. But something that you can lean into when you're a game maker is the way that the precedents that you have set up as a game maker, you can lean into those. And so a precedent set in the Sims game is that in order to gain skills, you're either going to be able to read books and use a skill object. And because they don't have a specified skill object for this, it's just going to leave simmers confused, and they're gonna feel dumb that it's on the grill. Now, is there a way to circumnavigate this to still be able to use the grill without having to confuse simmers? Yes, you would need it to be posted somewhere, like an info board or something like that tells you that's where it needs to go. There's a bunch of forest rangers in this pack. They don't really do anything, and honestly, you could have used them as walking wikis. Anytime your sim had a question about anything in this game, you could have asked a forest ranger, which is honestly would have been a smarter thing to do, because then you can have all of these intricate things, and if your sim is confused, they can basically go up to the person who's supposed to have all of the knowledge, which is true for real life people. And you would also be teaching people who've never camped, who might not have much camping experience. Maybe they go camping for the first time. They know that the people to ask questions would be the rangers, the people who work there. They wouldn't be as scared because they kind of know how that goes because they've played The Sims. But because these rangers are just glorified random adults that wander around and don't actually provide any context to the area in which they exist in, they're effectively useless. There's not even like a ranger career, which is upsetting, and I wish that there was more to them, and are generally a missed opportunity. Now, another issue that this game has is with the Hermit. The Hermit is a randomized sim, and it doesn't have the the occupation tag on them. So when sims are like doctors or the head librarian or the head trainer at the gym, they have a little icon above their head that indicates what they are. The Hermit doesn't. So when I actually first got to the Hermit area, I ignored that sim because I was like, that's clearly a randomly generated sim, and ignored her. But it turns out that she was the Hermit, and that's kind of disappointing because you can add lore into the game with the Hermit when you give her or them, because I guess it can be it's just a randomized sim. You can give them lore and information and really embed them into the world of Granite Falls, but because you've relied on a randomized sim, there's really no point in exploring their house to find any little bits of lore because they're not very interesting to begin with because they're random and they don't even have the tag. It's very, very upsetting. Another thing that does a disservice to Granite Falls is that there is no natural way to point simmers into the direction of using the campsites and actually camping with tents and things like that, because when you're asked to go pick your lot, I mean, who would pick the empty lot? How would you know unless previously told that you can get camping supplies? And sure, here's the thing. It's like, well, shouldn't simmers have to read the the pack that they're buying? Shouldn't they know that there's camping stuff? And it's like, I know. Remember what I said about the dumbest tourist and the smartest bear? We have to consider the dumbest tourist. The person who bought it and wasn't really thinking much and is just going through it. Because we do this all the time without really noticing, So, again, we are considering the dumbest tourist. And here's the thing. If you're the dumbest tourist, this is no insult to you. I am a firm believer that the dumbest tourist needs to be catered to. That's why Age of Mythology's tutorial is the best tutorial. Not the remake, the original. Best tutorial I've ever experienced. So how could the Sims 4 team fix this? How could we point them towards the camping? Well, the problem is one, these cabins are way too nice. I feel like the Sims team that created this, none of them have ever camped and none of them have ever cabined. And because of that, these cabins look entirely too nice and they need to look way shittier. I'm sorry, but cabining, it's not this well decorated. It's very empty because that's a part of camping, is that it's not pretty, it's not aesthetic. You're just kind of hanging out. These are rental homes, and it really does a disservice to the camping aesthetic that they are trying to capitalize on. So I honestly would ask them to first remake all of these cabins, make them look all exactly the same, and on very small lots. You could do a bunch of very small lots with the very same cabins, because it's not about, oh, I want this to be a more realistic camping experience. The other thing is that when you choose to go on vacation to Granite Falls, before it actually lets you pick your lot, it should give you a thing hey, do you want to buy camping supplies before you go to Granite Falls? So they could look at the camping supplies, be like, oh, I'm gonna need a tent, a this, a that, a this. And then when you get to Granite Falls, especially the first time, if you've ever clicked into Granite Falls, it could be click here if you want to go and camp with supplies. Click here if you would like to cabin. Sometimes it's gonna be UI tutorial stuff. There's really no way to get around it, but if you really wanted to avoid a sort of tooltip kind of tutorial kind of thing, you could, maybe your first time, you do go camping through the cabin, and then through the Forest Rangers or the other areas, it's hey, this is where you can camp with just tents and things like that. So then it would encourage you to come a second time and start to camp. Again, I don't think that way would work too well, because I mean, if someone's already going through this and they hate it so much and they never want to go through it again, they probably aren't going to want to camp. But that could be another way to do it. Now, the little post box does have all of the camping supplies, and that is a way to point to the gamer that they can camp. But if they don't know that exists because they've never interacted with it, then they're going to pick a cabin and not that. And maybe again, on their second time around, they'll come and they'll camp in the tents, but you can't really guarantee that. You kind of want to get them right out the get-go. Or even I don't know, pick a starting area and have them make their decision if they want to camp or if they want to cabin. I don't know. I don't know how it would work, but those are just some of my ideas. Hiking is also a bit of a letdown. Something that was quite surprising is that in camping, if you've never been camping before, most areas have well-marked hiking trails, and this game does not have well-marked anything at all. So what I really thought camping trails, the hikes, were gonna be is that you would basically go to an area that you could not normally walk in, you would go on a hike, and then you would be able to follow your sim, and there might be maybe some educational signs you could read to learn about the lore of Granite Falls, and maybe there could be a little quiz at the end, and you can get a moodlet or an item or something like that, something to reward the players for having paid attention to the area. Maybe you get specific moodlets for going on different hikes. Maybe there's an RNG aspect of is your hike good or is your hike bad? Yeah, I think you should be able to go on hikes with other people because they're truly a social event. It's just I wish that there was something a little bit more stricter with the hikes versus which is in game. I couldn't actually figure out how to hike. I was so confused. Apparently you're supposed to click your own sim and go on a hike, and then they just wander around. And that is generally not entertaining in terms of gameplay, to watch your sim just wander around. It would be interesting if like your sim could go into like an area that you could not normally walk into and be able to examine it in an interesting way, but again, we don't really get that. At the end of the day, it's a pretty atrocious pack. It's not very good. The bug hunting is atrocious. The pixel hunting is mind-numbing. The herbalism is confusing. The hiking is lackluster. The hermit has no lore attached to them because they're just a randomly generated sim. The map is big and filled with trees that are difficult to navigate through, and it is empty. The rangers don't do anything. The bears aren't really anything at all. You cannot use the scouting here. Like, something I expected was the scouting stuff, which is not here at all. So I guess the scouting is something you do on your home lot and not here, which is wild. There's just so much that is just generally disappointing about this, and I wish that I could send them my notes. I wish that they would like listen to me and give this a refresh to make it truly entertaining, because I can kind of see the vision. It really seems like they were trying to do this sort of they wanted you to do Animal Crossing but in The Sims. But they really did not take the time to analyze why things worked in games like Animal Crossing and why they would not work here. That is sort of the biggest blunder of this. And again, because they are very used to the way that they set up worlds, they set up Granite Falls like they would set up any other world, with unique buildings and different kinds of rentals that are all cabins. And the reality of camping is that there's a level of sameness. The uniqueness might become with the unique camping spots and what's around them, but cabins are basically empty because Sims are filling them with all of their camping supplies. And so these cabins really should not be looking this nice, especially when the aesthetic that you're trying to do is less of a summer camp and more of a camping experience. These cabins should all look the same. They should be fairly empty. They should suffice living, because the point is not to stay in these cabins. The point is to go out in nature and examine things in nature. So I honestly am planning to get the mod that allows you to turn rental places into livable places, like playable lots, because while I don't think that Granite Falls is a very successful vacation world, I think it could be a successful living world of just like people who want to live in the backwoods or a cult or something like that, because this area is pretty. It's just, and honestly, as someone whose like first foray into packs was kind of the Jungle Adventure is amazing. So the thing is like, I know that The Sims can create an interesting adventuring world to go on vacation, because Jungle Adventure is truly an amazing thing. And I know that some people have their opinions about Strangerville, but Strangerville is also pretty good when it comes to like a narrative story progression, something that has a little bit more guidance. So I know that the Sims team is very capable in creating something interesting, and I would love for them to come and look at this pack again and make some major changes, so that way it feels way more worth it in the end, because at present it truly isn't. And honestly, if they just changed it from a destination world to a livable world, that might just be the way to go. It might be the way to go, because right now it is not working.